the human side of web delivery, GenEI is greater than GenAI. Welcome to my talk. My name is Jochen Lillich. I'm a long-time IT veteran. I started coding in 1984 and have been using Linux since 1993. I'm a sysadmin by trade and have been doing stuff in the open source industry for a long time. I started a few businesses with little success. I worked as a corporate IT manager at two of Germany's biggest internet service providers. In 2001, I got certified as a certified Linux trainer and did a lot of training back then. And in 2010, I decided to do my own company again, which I've been leading as the CTO of a small team since 2010. And that business is freistil. freistil is a managed hosting platform specialized in high-performance Drupal hosting. And we've been around for a long time, but are still pretty little known. But we have a good selection of very loyal customers. Many of them have been with us for more than 10 years. Lately, my urge to do more teaching got me again, which got me to start a side project, which is monospacementor.com, where I do teaching of open source topics like Linux system administration, coding, all kinds of DevOps topics. And at the moment, for example, I do a Linux course live stream every Thursday evening on Twitch, where people can simply stop by and I go through the whole curriculum of a course that I normally do as a cohort-based course in much lesser time. I am quite the tech nerd. I have more custom mechanical keyboards than I can ever eat. And so most of the time I talk about technical things, but I'd like to counterbalance that with other topics that aren't directly tech related as well, and that's why I'm doing this talk today. Let's not bury the lead. GenEI in the title means genuine emotional intelligence, which is also known as empathy. When I started my hosting business 15 years ago, empathy was at the core of the whole business model. Before, I had worked at a big hosting provider, you know the type, shared hosting provider, thousands and thousands of customers paying €2 per month for their shared hosting plan. And of course, no support, none to speak of at least, and so people were pretty much left alone. I worked there in IT, but not in the hosting department, and when someone contacted me privately saying, we have a server with you, and we are outgrowing the server. We'd like to maybe add a second one and do load balancing, something like that. We have a software as a service product, which was all the hype at the beginning of the 2000s. And so we need to be able to scale. How do we do that? And I told them, I don't know, I'm not in hosting, but I can ask my colleagues. So I went over, and they told me, that's not possible because for security reasons, our servers can't talk to each other, so there will be no load balancing on anything. Not only did I have to tell the acquaintance, we can't help you with that, I also didn't know where to send them. And that was basically when the idea to do my own hosting business was born, but basically doing the opposite of what all the other hosting providers were doing. I wanted to work closely with my customers. I wanted to have a human face to all the technology that's necessary to run a high-performance hosting platform. And so empathy was one of the main core values that I started the business with. I built a lot of that hosting infrastructure myself, so I had to do full stack work there, from installing servers to building the customer web front end. And so it is, my main work is very, very technical. And since we are still only a very small team, basically my business partner and I run the whole technical side of the business as a duo, only accompanied by freelancers on a per project basis. We need to highly automate everything. And that, of course, makes it possible to run such an extensive infrastructure with more than 400 Linux servers at the moment with a two-person team. But the real insight I got from doing this for more than a decade is that it's not mainly about servers. It's about the people who work on them, and it's about the people who depend on them. The web delivery value chain doesn't start with MySQL, doesn't start with a wireframe or a style sheet or a PHP file. It doesn't end with Varnish or Nginx either. It's about the people, the humans that are at either end of that value chain. No idea why the picture doesn't display. There's developers building sites on one end of that value chain. There's users experiencing those websites. There's clients paying for them. There's always humans in the game. And we tend to forget about these humans, about the technology that we're using. And generative AI is only the latest example for that. There's always something that's all the hype, and we risk losing sight of the human side of things. For example, design and UX. Design isn't about making things look good. It's about understanding what a user needs, and even before they can articulate this need themselves. There's a quote from Steve Jobs: "When you make something with care, even though you don't know who the people using it will be, they will sense it. Care is a way to express our love for the species." He said that to Johnny Ive back when Ive was chief designer at Apple. Let's look at that. Design as the expression of your love for humanity, not just about how a piece of tech looks like. Generative AI can generate layouts or suggest patterns, but it can't sit with a client and notice what makes them uncomfortable, what excites them. Another area where we are active in all is copywriting. It's about word choices, about rhythm, about the personal touch, and it's the creativity that make a writer unique. For writers, generative AI is more likely to take away originality and personality. But I'm happy to report that there is now a solution for that. There's another image missing. No idea why. But it's the bunny from Secret Life of Pets asking, wait, what? Generative AI will never come up with a sentence like this, except because it has already digested the Hitchhiker's Guide Through the Galaxy. Other than that, it needs the creativity of an author, of a writer, to come up with something like that. And I'll get to the reasons why that is in a minute. Many of us are coders, of course, and it's a little bit late, so let's do some audience participation time. I'll ask you a few questions, and all the developers and coders, especially the senior ones, just need to answer with "I." Do you understand the instruction?
Aye.
Okay, we can do better. We'll try that. Do you need help completing easy but boring programming tasks?
Aye.
Would you rather spend time thinking at a high level and crafting good specs and documentation?
Aye.
Do you want an intelligent assistant that can learn and improve over time?
Aye.
Are you happy to review code suggestions and guide development through continuous feedback?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Even for something as technical as coding, empathy is important. Some developers often see their job as purely technical. It's just typing syntax into VS Code or something. But every architectural decision that you make will affect real people, I hope. The gap between technically correct and actually helpful requires human intuition. And writing maintainable code is an act of empathy, not only toward future developers, but also towards yourself in the future. Some of you, just like me, might also be at least part-time in sales. Sales without empathy is just listing features. While an LLM might be able to draft proposals, it can't read the room when you are with a prospect who's anxious about migration issues, for example. The best sales conversations start with, what keeps you up at night? And not, here's what we offer. For me, for example, I always have the challenge when I talk to a new prospect not to drown them in technobabble. You remember the teacher from Peanuts? Load balancer, scalability, servers, varnish cache. We need to explain them in a non-technical way what we do that they need. And that's a human quality, and that requires empathy. And some of you might know the saying, if you aren't paying for a product, you are the product. Well, I could say on the other hand, if users aren't the product, then they are our partners. And that is automatically establishing a relationship. Project management requires empathy as well. Most project failures aren't technical. It's not about the technology not doing its job. They are communication breakdowns. You can use LLMs to generate status reports, but an LLM can't sense when a client is nodding along but doesn't actually understand what you're telling them. Transparency, another core value that we list on our website, isn't just about sharing information, it's about sharing it in a way that the other person can use. Something that we do on an everyday basis is client support. And that's where empathy becomes actually measurable, because you can measure response times, you can measure resolution rates, but you can also measure, did they feel heard if you ask them? A chatbot might be able to handle the most trivial of issues, but they can't detect panic in an email that a client sends you at 2 a.m. We offer 24/7 emergency support, and that support isn't just technical. It's about understanding that downtime of a website means someone's reputation is on the line. I see our support offers not as clients buying some kind of a guarantee, even maybe connected to a refund if we don't meet our requirements. For me, it's they are buying peace of mind. That's what they actually need. And that's why we use a different model in terms of support. We position ourselves basically as the client's external SRE team. We talk to our customers almost on a daily, mostly on a weekly basis, where we simply check out what they are working on, what their current challenges are, and how these challenges relate to our infrastructure. And that gives us a much better understanding to know where we are falling short, where we might have to improve, and where we need to maybe point the client in a specific direction to help them help themselves. LLMs can be a force multiplier for technical work, and they're supposed to free up time for the human connection. And what I see is that we are running the risk of not doing that and instead simply adding more work on top. I'm a great fan of automation. As I initially said, everything about our processes and our infrastructure is automated, but there are a few things that you can't automate. You need the human part for client emails, you need it for support responses, you need it even for business strategy. Your customers can tell when they're talking to a bot, when they're receiving boilerplates, even if it's a sophisticated one. And that's why my claim is empathy is much more important than any tool that makes you, hopefully, more productive. The thing is, there's a technical reasons why LLMs can only generate average content and average results. And that's because of their training data. They have a large pool of training data. They throw it all together, build the model, and the stuff that it returns is basically the average of everything it digested. It can't do value judgments. It can't distinguish shit posts from really helpful tutorials. There's another term for average, and that's mediocre. With empathy, you can rise above the average, because that can be your unique selling proposition. Now, I'm not claiming that empathy is everything and that you need to be empathetic till the cows come home. There's also a dark side of empathy. And I'll have to stand in for the picture that's again missing. Kim Scott wrote a great book that I can highly recommend. It's called Radical Candor. Thank you. And there is, she draws a 2x2 diagram about how much you care personally and how much you directly address the issue. And in the upper left, where you really care about something but do not address the issue directly, there is a term that she coined, ruinous empathy. That's when we don't address issues because they are struggling. I see they are doing their best. I don't want to discourage them, or I am afraid of touching a nerve. So let's just see what happens. Let them work it out. That's the kind of empathy that can really, really backfire. So there is also a dark side of empathy that can be called ruinous empathy. So why does this matter, especially now? Well, everyone has access to generative AI systems. On top of that, the Drupal ecosystem is very mature. We've been around for a long time. And so it's becoming harder and harder to differentiate yourself from the competition on a technical basis. But what can set you apart is your human side. How you interact with your own people, your own teams, how you interact with prospects, how you interact with existing clients. And so when LLMs are more and more becoming table stakes, it's empathy that can be your competitive advantage. Because you can't automate trust. And in the end, it's all about trust. Of course, over the duration of 15 years, we had at least a few catastrophic outages for some reason or another. And the reason why even the customers most affected by these outages might still be with us to this day is because we've built trust with them. We didn't just say, yeah, we have all the technology, we have load balancers, blah, 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 blah. We built trust that they could count on us understanding what they're doing, understanding where they wanted to go, and that created trust, and trust then created loyalty. So for us, it's basically empathy as infrastructure. Just like we build redundancy into all our technical systems to prevent outages, even though failure will happen, we also build in a human connection with everything we do internally and externally. And when humans and systems work together, I think the outcome will be much better than just working on a technical basis alone. So I'm going to end my talk with a statement that should resonate especially with every active member of the Drupal community. Technology scales, but relationships are what last. Thank you.
Thanks, Jochen. Any questions? I think empathy is very, very, very important paramount. Anyone has any questions about how to approach this in the age of AI? Okay, I'm sure people will ask more if you stick around. Thank you again.
I'll be around. Thank you.